Thank you guys all for being here. I have to say I'm so grateful to be here with you guys. And SmartCredit, some of you are wearing the shirt, so if you can stand up, those that are wearing the shirt, it says Family Reunion. And I have to say, looking around the room, most of you are friends of mine. You're like family, and I truly feel like, and I love that it says Family Reunion, because I truly feel like I'm in this room with people that I love, that pour into me, and that I pour into them, and it's just great to be here. So thank you for having me today. I appreciate it. All right. Okay, so my topic today is the art of the unsell, and I love that I can see what I'm doing. Most of the time I'm speaking and I'm looking behind me. So the art of the unsell. And so what that essentially means is that we don't actually have to be out there like that car salesman type personality to have a really successful business. So all of us in this room, like I said, you guys are my friends, you're my family, but have I ever pitched to you about my services? Never. I will never pitch to you. I would rather get to know who you are than you ever know who I am. And maybe you'll be around the room going, what does she even do, right? That's what I want to leave you with when I'm talking to people. And that's how I treat my clients as well. I'm not there to pitch them. So I'm going to dive into my framework that I created. And today's goal is just to discover how we can attract more clients, earn their trust, and create real impact without pressure, sales scripts, and that awkward closing tactics that we got taught. I don't know if you guys bought the book, like here's the questions to ask, and here's how to say this when you're selling this. And you really don't need that if you really think about the people first in the interaction. So before we're going to dive into the framework that I created, it's called G.A.I.N, G-A.I.N. G is for goal, A is for awareness, I is it for insight, and N is for next step forward, or an invite. So I want to talk to you about a client of mine. Her name is Jasmine. She was referred to me by a loan officer, and her credit score is in the low 500s. And she has told me that she wasn't ready, and she felt like there's no hope, no path, and she just got rejection. So think about this, and if you guys can put yourself into your client's shoes. By show of hands, how many of you are working with loan officers primarily? Your loan officers, real estate agents? Yeah, I figured, okay. So they have a really big goal, and they're going to the loan officer, and the loan officer denies them, and I can tell you, because I've been in the industry for 23 years in lending, that the loan officer gets paid commission when they actually close a deal, right? So when they don't, a lot of them need to move on fast to the person that they can actually get qualified. So the idea is they come in and they get denied, and the loan officer says, sorry, you're denied, you can't do this right now. And there's really no other direction unless they're smart enough to have one of you great people to be able to refer them to, okay? So this particular person, she's rejected. She feels like there's no hope. She hasn't been given a path forward. And when I met her, I didn't start with reading the credit report. How many of you asked for the credit report and you guys are just going to start reading the credit report to them? What are the errors on the credit report, right? We're all very brilliant at finding all the errors on the credit report, right? But I didn't start with that. I start with, what made you want to buy a home? Why are we talking? Why did you go to the loan officer? Why? Okay? And here's what she said to me. I want a backyard for my kids. I want them to grow up with stability, something I never had. So when you guys are going out there talking about, oh, follow me, I got a 100-point improvement here, they don't care about that. They don't care about that 750 score. They care about the actual goal. And her goal was the house, but it was deeper than that. The actual goal she had, and this is where I have to learn how to listen, right? The actual goal wasn't even the house. It was providing her family, her kids, with stability. How many single moms are in this group or have been single moms before? We got you? So I've been there, and I can tell you, and I know this for all of you, we want to give the world to our kids. So because I know my niche, and my niche is first-time home buyers, I can feel her pain. I'm her. I'm sitting behind that phone, and I am her. And I'm listening to her, and I can feel it. And sometimes I get emotional because I actually feel what she feels, right? And because I know my audience so well, I can now relate to her and be able to express to her that she's in a safe spot and I'm going to help her. So I'm building trust, right? I'm starting with that goal first. So that was her goal. So that's G. We got to figure out what the goal is first. And then I gently walked her through where she is right now. So let me see if I have it. Oop, I keep going. I'm using the wrong. I'm using red. So there's a goal, okay. So then I gently walk her through where she's at right now from where she wants to go. So we're creating like, what is the gap, right? What is the gap there? I assured her that even though she had made progress, because in my conversation she had said, hey, I actually have been working on my credit. So she was even further distraught, like someone threw her off a building when she went to the loan officer who now said she couldn't get approved for it because she thought she was doing the things. You know, she was on social media listening to everybody tell her what she needed to do, right? They're listening to you, right? But she didn't, she felt like she was probably ready to go. She got denied, and she's like, hey, I've been trying to work on this. So I went back to her and I said, you know what? You have been, and you have improved your situation from where you are, but we have some key areas that we need to address. So again, we're figuring out what the gap is. Here's where I'm at, here's where I want to go. And that's what I call awareness. I want to make sure she understands there is a gap, right? This is not where you throw up on them with all the errors on the credit report and what you're going to do, right? And so the next one is insight. I said, so here's where we're going to be very specific. So some of you guys, have you ever been to like a webinar, and at the webinar they're going to teach you something, and you get on the webinar and the stupid webinar doesn't teach you anything? It's just a sales pitch after sales pitch after sales pitch. Well, that's what clients are used to getting, right? They're used to having someone tell them, oh, you got this issue, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And you give them like the very basic information that they can't actually leave this conversation and do anything with it, right? Please don't be that person. Please don't be that person. You can actually provide a lot of value to them, be very specific about what they need to do, where they can hang up that phone with you, or you're in person, or however you're doing it, and they can walk away and do some things for themselves. You should leave everybody you talk to in that state. Why? It's going to build that trust. You're going to show authority that you know what you're talking about. That's where you're providing real, true insight for these people, okay? And so she could have walked away, but what most of my clients say, and I've heard them say this to me, wow, you gave me everything I need to know, so I can do this on my own. But I trust you, and I want you to hold my hand. That's what I typically get, right? But if they do walk away, because you're going to have those, and they're going to do it on their own. I had one girl, she did that. She sent me 10 people. She never signed up with me. She did it all on her own, but she sent me 10 people who did sign up with me, and they all said, so-and-so thinks you're so great, right? So just think of it that way as well. All right, and then the last one is the next step. So this is where I ask her a question, or I say, if it makes sense to you, like some other of my clients, I would be happy to walk you through exactly what you need to do to be able to get that home for your children so they can have the stability that you want them to have. I've been there. I've done it. I know what errors and what obstacles you might face. I've been able to create a program where I can take out the obstacles and all the errors that I faced, give you a clear path forward so you cannot stumble like I did. Does that sound better? How many people are going to say yes? Right? Right? Or I could say, hey, I can do this for you. Yep, I got all the information you need, and it's $299, right, to get started. I could do that, but I'm going to lose that person. So at the end of this conversation, when I'm at next step, I have never, ever, ever had someone say, how much do you charge? I don't need to, because it doesn't matter how much I charge. I listened to their goal, and I helped them create the vision, bigger than the vision they thought for their goal, and now they're sold. It doesn't matter what it costs as long as they can do it, right? So they're not going to ask that question. Does that make sense? Yeah? Awesome. All right, so going back to the goal first. So let's talk about how people enter the home buying process. Since most of you guys raised your hand that you are, did I click the wrong? Yeah, no. Okay. So most of you raised your hand that you guys are working with loan officers. So I'm going to take you through a process, but I'm going to talk to you about, I interview people. So raise your hand if I interviewed you on the first night. If I came up and talked to you, I got you on video too, you know that, right? So I interview people. I love to interview people. I love people, and I can tell you I learn more from people by listening to them and getting to know them than anything ever I know for myself, right? So I don't throw up on you, but I want to know everything that you have to offer, and and how many of you guys had so much fun with me doing that? We laughed and just had a great time, right? It was a great time. So that's what I do with everybody. So I was at the Vault conference. I left the Vault conference to come here, and there was a loan officer who came up, and she was talking to me, and she goes, Allie, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah. She's like, why is it that when a person wants to buy a home, they go to a real estate agent first, and then they come to me when they should be coming to me first because I'm the one that's going to give the loan? And I looked at her and I said, because they didn't come for the service, they came for the goal. So think about this in these terms, right? You know what I'm talking about. So what they do is a client has a dream, right? A dream is a goal without the action yet. So they have a dream of what they want for their life, like Jasmine I was talking about. She wants to have a home for stability for her kids. The first thing that she starts doing is probably going on Zillow or some kind of listing, and she finds that house that fits that dream that she's desiring for her children. And she calls the real estate agent, right, Steve? Real estate agent in the house. She calls Steve to help her get her dream, okay? Then the next step is, if Steve finds that they need a loan, Steve's going to refer her to his favorite loan officer, right? And then the next person in line is you guys, right? Because you guys are the ones that if I can't make that loan happen, I'm going to send it to you. And what's really sad about that, it's the word if. So what that means is if I can push that file through, no matter if it's good for you or not, no matter how high the interest rate is, if I can push that file through, I'm going to do that before I ever send it to you guys, because you might mess up my deal, okay? So I'm going to secure that deal. So I'm not maybe even doing the best thing. So she said, but she's like, I have to like kiss the feet of this real estate agent in order to get these clients in. So I'm getting, and the answer that I told her is what I just told you guys. They are looking for the goal. The real estate agent has the goal, right? They're not looking for the steps. So if you're in business and you're talking to clients about all the things you do and how great you are, I do the greatest disputes. My disputes work. I do FCR. I'm looking for FCR violations. I'm going to look for different ways to, for litigation. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And you didn't sell the client. They can care less. They don't care. I'll get you up 100 points. They don't care. The only time they care is if they think that because you did that, they're going to get to their goal, but you probably lost them already because you're leading with all the errors on the credit report, how you are the magic person, the hero in the storm to fix the problem, and now you've actually made them feel like, how when they were up on the top of the building, the loan officer said you're denied, and they felt like someone threw them over the building? You picked them up, put them back on the building, and threw them off again. They're just like fully overwhelmed about the entire situation now, and they're thinking it's hopeless. So this is where you guys come in. If you can be goal first, so your social media, guys, I look at your social media all the time, and I just crack up laughing. 100 points, 100 points, I'm the best, my disputes work. The client doesn't care about that. But if you go into your social media and you're like, I am a first-time home buyer specialist, and I'm gonna help you get that home. Look at this house. Do you see the fence? Do you see the security for your kids, right? You got to know your audience so you can do that picture and give them that visualization of their goal. All right, so goal is I would say the most important, because the client doesn't care about the process, they care about the goal. All right, let's see. I'm going to go into, are you third in line? Are you ready to lead? So again, like I said, the client goes through these processes. They're going to go to the loan officer. They're going to contact the real estate agent, the loan officer. Then maybe you get that. So if you can change your script and start really going into what their goal is, I think you're going to find that you're going to generate a lot more leads and a lot more closings. All right. Okay, I'm going to role play with you guys a little bit. So I coach a lot of credit repair companies amongst other companies. I have a program called Millionaire's Journey. So I take any company, but a lot of them are a lot of them are credit repair companies just because the nature of the industry I work in. But I can take any company if they're willing to, just like our clients, if they're willing to do the thing, from 0 to $1 million. And so I have this program that I do, and I often ask the people in the room, and I'll say, hey, sell me my beach house. And they'll say, you know what, I have this program. I will do these disputes for you. I do you an update every 30 days. I'm going to give you an action plan. I'm going to walk you through and be your accountability partner through the action plan. And then I end with, like, you didn't sell me my beach house. What about my beach house, right? And so, again, thinking on that is you want to be able to lead your clients to a vision, right? So if you're leading with this focus on what's wrong with them and make them feel more overwhelmed, you're going to lose that deal. when you get clear on their goal, you create buy-in. This is when they start to believe that you are the key to unlocking their dream, okay? Now, this is something I talk about a lot. So some of you, is Vita in the room? Is she in the room right now? No? Oh, she missed it. I updated my slide to include some people. Some people in the room said a few things, and Vita said, people will connect with you before they will do business with you, right? And so you want to fall in love with your customers, but how can you fall in love with your customers? You first have to know who your customer is. So this is very important. If you're going to do the G.A.I.N method, and I hope that a lot of you probably are doing the G.A.I.N method, but I'm hoping I'm wrapping a bow around it so you have an actual process to think about, right? But often, we don't have an actual audience. So most of the time when I ask someone I'm coaching, I'm like, who's your audience? And I was guilty of this. I was a loan officer, and the first time I had it was a really high-performing real estate agent. He's like, go to his office, and I finally got that appointment with him. I was like, he's going to make my career. If I can get just him, I don't need any other deals, that kind of person. And go in the office, and I hand him my business card, and he looks at it. It didn't have my picture on it or anything. It just said, new home is right up your alley, right? And he threw my card back at me, and he said, if this is how you do business, I can't do business with you. And he was talking about you need to be representing yourself. Your face needs to be on everything. They need to know who you are. They need to know, like, and trust you, okay? Then the next lesson he taught me after he slapped me in the face the first time, and I'm already down, he goes, so what do you do? And I'm like, this mother, he knows I'm a loan officer. That's why we're here, right? And so I'm like, he's just messing with me at this point. I'm 20 years old, guys, by the way. So that's when I started my career. So I'm 20 years old. He's 40-something years old. I'm like, this guy is just messing with me. And he said, no, what do you do? And I said, I'm a loan officer. And he's like, yeah, but what do you do? And I said, all loans, right? And so when I'm coaching credit repair companies, or anybody for that matter, I'll ask that question, who's your audience? And they'll say, duh, Allie, did we not have this conversation about what I do? I'm a credit repair expert. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I got it, you're a credit repair expert. But what do you do? And they always say, without a doubt, I've never heard anyone in all my 23 years of doing this say anything different than this. I help everyone who has bad credit. And my next thing that I say to them is, then you don't have an audience. Because what the real estate agent told me is, he goes, if you do all loans and you're good at nothing, I need someone who's going to be excellent at something so I know how to send business to you. And that's when I became a first-time home buyer specialist. So let me tell you something fun about this. When you get known for something, you think it's a narrow, like you're narrowing down, right? And you think, oh, I'm going to lose a lot of people. But that's wrong. It's exactly wrong. So here I am, 20-something years old. I become the top loan officer in the entire region that I lived in. And if you didn't know my name, you weren't in real estate, let's just say that. Because I was known as the first-time homebuyer specialist. And so what did this mean? I didn't have to go market to nobody to get all the leads. I didn't have to go to a real estate agent trying to get them to send me their deals because I was a first-time homebuyer specialist. So what did this mean? This means that I was able to know where all the down payment assistance programs were. I was an expert of all first-time homebuyer loan products. You didn't know what you don't know until you dive deep into who your audience is. I was able to interview my audience and say, what's the hardest part about this process? No transparency. I don't know what's going on. I'm scared. It's the first time I've ever done it. So I knew where the homebuyer education places were, where they can get grants, where they can learn that they have to mow their grass when they buy a house, right? So all those things that they would present to me, I was able to get the solutions for them because I knew who they were. And the best way to do that, if anybody has a question about how to find your niche, is sit down for a weekend and really write who you are, who you want to be in life, and some of the obstacles you may have overcome. Because you can't sell anything unless you can actually get them to the result that they want to get to. You guys agree? So if you're out there saying, hey, I can help you buy a house, and you ain't bought a house, you might be in the wrong field, right? You might want to find a different niche. So find out, what did you do? How did you overcome that? And what was the transformation from that? That's how you're going to be able to serve your clients best. Because best you be able to give them what you say they're going to give in order to keep your job, right? So short-lived if you don't. But this is a chance where you can really start to fall in love with your audience. And I really, if you went through that pain point, like I just talked about the single mom, that was me buying my first home at 21 years old. If you've been there and you've walked through those paths and you know what that feels like, you're able to then speak that into them. You fall in love with that person because you were that person, right? And so that's the best way to grab that audience. All right, we're gonna go back and do a wrap up of this goal thing. So G is for goal. So everybody remembers G.A.I.N, G is for goal. This is the most powerful part of the framework. If you know their goal better than they do, you instantly become valuable, right? Know their goal better than they do. This isn't just about sales, it's coaching, and it's the foundation of everything else you're about to do. So everything else after that conversation of goal, this is the foundation. If you don't have this down, if you didn't listen enough here, you're gonna lose the deal. So here I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna give you just a quick example of what I'm talking about here. So you guys, I do teach a class called Mastering Online Consultations. And so I give this example in that class. I have an online consultation form, so you don't actually talk to me on the phone. So if you're ever wondering, can I have a successful business without talking on the phone? You can have a very successful, actually a more successful business if you don't pick up that phone than if you do. But you can make a questionnaire. And so my clients get a questionnaire, and it asks 2 simple questions. What is your goal? And is there anything that you would like me to know? Okay. And so I had this gentleman, it was so sweet. He said, my goal is to buy a house, and here's what I want you to know. I just had a baby girl, and I haven't been a good husband. I haven't been a good father. I haven't been a good support system, and I know I'm failing. And the one thing, get emotional, but the one thing I want to give my kids, I want my daughter to walk into her own bedroom. I want to give that to my daughter. How powerful is that? You know that information. So here I am, I do online consultations, open up Zoom, and I'm looking over his credit report before I do this, right? Know what his goal is. And I go, hey, John Doe, I just want to let you know that you answering those questions was so powerful for me. I can imagine you today walking into your very first home, and you carrying that baby girl right into that bedroom, and you open up the door and you say, what color do you want to paint your room? So I did that at 21 years old. I was divorced, single mom, and I lived in an apartment place that wasn't the best for my kids, and all I wanted to do was have what he had, what he wanted. So I felt that because I knew my audience, right? And I remember buying my first home, walking the kids into their rooms, and I go, what color do you want to paint your room? So I was able to project that to him because I'd been there. So I can emotionally attach to him, and he can emotionally attach to me. And what did that, I didn't have to, at that point, I probably didn't even have to go over his credit report. He was like, this girl is going to get me my house, and my little girl is going to walk in her bedroom and pick the color up. So do you see where I took his vision and I probably expanded on it? Because a lot of times, especially in my niche of first-time homebuyers, a lot of times once they get rejected, they're not even sure, even in the beginning, if it's even possible. They're not even sure it's possible. So not only did I listen to his goal, I validated his goal, I validated his need, I expanded his vision, and I made him see himself walking into the house, walking into the room, and telling his little girl, what color do you want to paint this room? How powerful is that? I could have said any price tag on it after that. He was going to buy that service. He didn't even have to know what I do in the background. And that's what I was telling you guys yesterday when I got on stage and I talked about SmartCredit. You guys are here for a goal. You're not here for all the technical stuff that you guys had to do in the background. You guys could care less what all that was, right? Agree? It's about the goal, and that's what your clients are feeling too. All right. Dustin Ball, you in the room? Where's Dustin Ball? He is not in the room? Is Dustin Ball not in this room? Woo! What'd you say? You giving him an excuse, Steve? No. All right, so the next one we're going to go over is, let's see, where was I? Oh, goal. So goal revisited. So are you guys seeing Justin? Yes. Okay, Justin. So Justin, he commonly says this. He says, they don't want the 750 score, guys. So if you know Dustin Ball, he does not sell you on what he's going to do and how many points you're going to get. He's going to talk to you about your goal and that he's going to get you there. What's really powerful about that, especially with us in business, have you ever worked with a client, and I know I have, so please raise your hands, be honest. You work with a client, 30 days later their score dropped and it didn't go up? Ah, there he is. Good thing you showed up. Honestly, have you worked with a client and their score dropped 50 points after 30 days of working with you, right? You know, because you ain't in control. You could have deleted 10 things off their credit report and their score dropped 50 points. It ain't your fault. You're not in control. So when you lead with this credit score idea or this time frame idea, right, Dustin? Then you're leading yourself into disaster. Because if that client sees that score drop, then you're not good. You don't know what you're talking about. You can be like, but I got 10 things off your credit report, and they're like, I don't care. I'm like 50 points further away since I worked with you and gave you some dollar bills than I was before, right? But if Dustin says, hey, I know the path to help you get to your goal. I will lead you, follow me. I've done it before. Then if the score drops 50 points and he says, hey, I'm looking it over. We did get, there's 10 things off your credit report that were negative. That helps the credit score. That helps the whole profile for the mortgage loan, whatever. But here's some of the things that we missed that we need to tighten up. He's going to be able to keep that person in his pipeline. You agree? You agree? Okay. Thank you, Dustin, for being a part of our conversation. I appreciate you. You didn't slide it? Dang. And there we go, Steve Rigger. So again, my VA took the liberty of, this is from yesterday. And you know what? I like this picture because you are wearing orange, and that is my favorite color. Thank you. So Steve said yesterday, whenever possible, blame the process, not the person. So remember I talked about A is for awareness. You're finding the gap between where they're at right now and where they want to go, right? And so now I know you're relating it to your employees and being a leader, but in a company, you're the leader for the client. Would you agree? You're the leader for the client. So if we're blaming, if we start to say, oh, you have a 30-day late, you have a charge-off, you have this, you have that, what are we doing? You, and I'm going to dig it in, you, I'm going to dig it in, you, I'm going to dig it in, right? They already were pushed off the freaking building already. Like I said, you picked them up and you just threw them back over. And now they're really feeling like, man, I'm not good. Because people relate themselves to what they can or cannot do, right? And they start to say, hey, I'm not good. And that's not the feeling we want to give to anybody. And some of you guys think that by telling them how bad they are, you in some way make yourself look higher and that you're going to be able to help them be unbad. And that's not what they actually get from you, okay? So if you start to blame the process, like they love this. You know what? That stupid credit bureau. If they wouldn't have had this error on here, we'd be okay. So I can help you. We're going to fix this error, right? So you start blaming the process opposed to the person itself. The you word should never be in your vocabulary unless you're talking about your goal. You're going to get there, right? That's the only time you're going to point that finger. All right, Steve. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. They need to know the problem. They do. But they don't need to feel broken from the problem. Okay. All right, where am I at? I wrote numbers and all kinds. Okay, so I'm on Insight. Shonda here? Because I think she had to leave this morning, so I don't think she's here. I was hoping she could try to stay. Okay, so I is for insight. So remember that. A is for what? Awareness. No, I'm sorry. What G is for what? Goal. A is for? I is for insight. So this is where you give something they can really use. Please, please, please don't be that person that gives a little bit so that they don't have anything to actually do anything with that person. Please don't be that person. I was listening to the panel yesterday, and I'm not knocking on the panel of the influencers because you guys did great, and this is exactly what you should do for influencing and getting people to draw attention. But if you say I got 5 steps and you only give 4 and you leave 1 out when you're talking to your actual clients, right? That's kind of how that feels. It feels like, oh, you just, you robbed me. And that's how they feel. So you don't want to make your client ever feel that way. Give the person something of true value. So this builds trust and also builds your authority and your credibility, okay? And what did Shonda say? She said, you sell more by giving more. And it is 100% true. I told you guys earlier, I've had clients who come to me, I spill the beans, I tell them everything that they need to do, they go off and they go do it and refer me 10 people. right? They didn't sign up, but they're like my biggest spokesperson out there, okay? So just know that. All right, N is for next step. Is Everett in the building? I was going to call out his whole team. I don't see him. Where? Oh, he's next door. Okay. So he said, don't promise the sun, moon, and stars. We do this together. And I think Dustin would probably also say this. So a lot of us like to say, oh, we're going to get you up 100 points. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You can't do none of it, by the way, just so you know. You ain't doing nothing. You might have some knowledge of how to help direct them. But if they're on the other side also going late on their credit card, then, I mean, you don't have much control over the situation. So this is done together. And I loved how Everett said, don't promise the sun, moon, and stars, because you can't promise those things. You can only promise that you will be there for them and guide them. That's the only thing you can promise them. They're going to have to do the work. This is where you invite, not pitch, not pressure, not manipulate person. You just ask. The common thing that I'll ask, I'll say, you know what? If it makes sense to work with me, I would love to help you. A lot of my clients have come to me to help them on this journey and guide them to their goal. And I would love to do that for you. If it makes sense for you, I would love to do that for you. Do you understand? I didn't say I'm the person for you. I'm your hero. I'm your guide, and I would love to help you in that process if it makes sense for you. So I'm letting them make a decision. I'm not pressuring them into anything. Nobody likes to be sold. Does anybody in this room like to have some telemarketer and call them and start selling them on something? None of us like that. You do? You grade them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then give them advice afterwards.
There you go. There you go. I mean, we don't like that. So we want people to fill our heart. So if you can, again, know who your audience is, know what they go through, and be emotionally attached to that, it really helps a lot. All right, so G.A.I.N in action. This is my final story wrap up. So client Marcus, he came to me after being turned down by a mortgage lender. He was embarrassed, and he said, I guess I'll just wait a year. But instead of me reinforcing his setbacks, I asked him, what's your real goal? And he said, he wanted to move his kids out of a dangerous neighborhood by the summer. Okay? And I think this is important. This, again, where you're listening and you're really trying to dive deep. It's not just the house. There's some underlining thing. It's not just the house. My beach house is not just a beach house. It's a symbol of something else for me, right? So the house is just kind of a cover-up, just like the 750 is just a cover-up. And so that was his goal, right? So we got G. That was his goal. We pulled up his credit report, walked through it together, not to judge it, but to understand it, the awareness part. I showed him that he wasn't far off, just a few tweaks away. That is awareness. Finally, I said, and then I explained how a rapid rescore, a $500 balance drop, and a new trade line could push him over that threshold. So that's where I gave him the true insight. So he could have left me from that conversation and done it all on his own. And then finally I said, next step, right? If this makes sense to you, I'll build you a custom plan. I'll walk you through every step. And Marcus didn't hesitate, and right now he's in underwriting, okay? So this happens when you stop selling your service and you start guiding towards their dream, or start guiding them toward their dream and making it an actual goal and a reality for them. This is the G.A.I.N framework that I hope that you guys can really remember today. I know a lot of you guys are doing this, so it's probably like, oh yeah, I do that. So hopefully I've just wrapped it up into a bow that you have an actual framework that you can use. Now, I have something else I want to go over. Any questions about that? Do you guys feel comfortable today? Was it clear? Okay, awesome. Okay, so final thing that I want to do. I have created a movement called the Success Boss, and it's really for you guys, okay? And the movement is really to change how we are viewed in this industry, or would we agree that there's a lot of bad views on our industry?
Yes.
But we are so needed. People feel so lost. They feel so hopeless in so many different ways, not just in life in general, but credit and finances is a big deal for people. And this is like the foundation of their life. If we can get this, and I know David, I don't know if David's around, but the CEO here of SmartCredit, his whole mission is to help people so they can actually see a better life for themselves, right? Because we all want that. And that's his whole mission. So I have the Success Boss movement that I'm working really hard to push out. And I have a code of ethics. And there's a couple people I'm going to call out in the room, and I'm not going to be able to call out everybody, but I'll talk to you about this in a minute. Christina, can you stand up? Dustin's already standing up. Elizabeth, Steve, Rika's not here. Jose, oh, Jesus. Oh, Rika's there, okay. Trying to see who else I see in the audience that I really want to pick on. There's a few people in this room. Where's Cassandra Rosa? Where's Cassandra? Is she here? Oh, there you are. I should have seen you over there. Okay. So there's more of you guys, but you guys please stay standing because I want to make a point here. And there's more of you guys in this room. Trust me, I love you guys so much, but I'm just picking on a few people. These people really, for me, exemplify exactly what I'm trying to do with the Success Boss movement. And here's our code of ethics. So lead with goals, not gimmicks. Serve before you sell always. Listen more than you speak. Deliver what you promise and more. Honor your clients' dreams as if they were your own. Educate with integrity, not ego. Never use fear to motivate, use vision. Respect the trust you've earned. It's everything. Your name is everything. Who said that? I think Shonda was one of the ones that said that. Stay coachable, stay learning. Build a business that changes lives, starting with your own. These people are true friends of mine, and I truly believe they have all of those code of ethics. But if you guys in the audience, if you guys feel like that resonates with you, please stand up. Please stand up. Yes, yes. These are the success bosses in the room. Thank you guys. You're so, so needed. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. You have no idea how much you're needed, so thank you for that. And hopefully you guys can support me in that movement because we got to change our industry because we are so needed. But if we're going and we're showing our foot that we're credit repair, we're going to miss the point. We're not credit repair. We are credit professionals that help people get to goals, okay? So find your niche and find the goal that you're wanting to help people get to. Please do that for me. I'm going to show you a couple other things. This is, if you want to scan the QR code, this is my Millionaire's Journey. This is how I teach exactly what you're hearing here. But I teach people how to go from, there's my group right there. I love you guys. I teach from wherever you're at, even if it's just a spark in your mind of you wanting to change someone's reality for the better. I go from there to making $1 million business. And it really isn't about the money that you're going to make. I can teach you how to make money. I've made a lot of money in my day. But it's not about the money. It's about who you become and the transformation you become, that you have a millionaire mindset. Millionaires work differently. They think differently. But the one thing I can tell you they all do is they love people. True millionaires love people, and they would never stab someone in the back. They would never try to take what someone else made. They want to help support them. And so if you guys are interested, I would love for you guys to join that movement. All right, last thing before I close is I was published in a book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who happens to be a really good friend of mine now. I get to enjoy going to his beautiful home in Orlando, Florida, and sitting with him. He's an amazing guy. He's a really good business coach. And chapter 1 starts with Alicia Alt. And you can kind of see my story and how I rose to where I'm at today with Level Up Score. But if you scan this QR code, you actually get this audio for free. So you get the audiobook for free. But I have someone in the audience that I have the actual book for. You bought this book? Please buy it. So you get the audio for free, but please buy it because you know what? It's like a study manual, right? Write notes in it. This is really going to help you raise the floor in your business. But Christina, can you come up and get this? Yes. So I wrote you a little message in it. I won't read the whole thing. So Christina's been coaching with me for some time now. Yeah. And she's probably one of my absolute biggest fans. I just love her to death. I wrote you a note. I'm not going to read the whole thing because some of it's personal, but Christina, life, like in business, is all about scaling to new heights. This book, The Science of Scaling, is one that I'm in. I'm humbly in this book. But what makes this truly meaningful to me is being able to place it in your hands. Someone as full of vision, strength, and possibilities as you. Here's to your journey. Thank you so much. And that's a wrap. Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate you.